Hi, I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style.
And I'm Jill Chivers from shopyourwardrobe.com.
Now, recently I wrote a blog post all about my introversion and my little aha moment when I threw a little hissy fit and washed up some pots and pans quite noisily. Because that's my
big introverted statement there.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, and Jill is an extrovert and I'm an introvert. And Jill is actually an expert in psychological typing. And so we thought we'd like to have a chat about this in general about shopping and style and dressing and how it may influence us.
Yes. It's a very interesting topic, and I used to include these concepts in leadership workshops that I ran for senior leaders in global companies. And so I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time talking with people about this and really hearing their experiences of what it was like to have a preference for introversion or a preference for extroversion, and how often we marry people who are opposite to us. It's uncanny how often that happens.
Is that because we're trying to get some balance in our lives?
Well, sometimes we are trying to externalise or co-opt out that balance, which of course psychologically comes internally. Whether we see it that way or not, that's generally how it works.
So can you give us a quick definition of what is introversion and what is extroversion?
Well, there's a lot of misnomers and stereotypes about extroverts and introverts, and even those two terms are not correct. I tend to do the long form of people with a preference for. So it's really about energy and where you source your energy from. People who are introverted have a preference for introversion. Their energy levels are sourced from within, and there have actually been some interesting studies looking at the levels of dopamine in the brains of people who are introverted or extroverted, and introverts have a higher degree of dopamine. There's a lot of rich activity that's going on internally for people who are introverted. People who are extroverted, they source their energy from the external world of people and things and activity, and their dopamine levels tend to be a little bit lower than our introverted friends, which means we seek stimulation from the outside world, and we often need that to be able to charge us through projects and activities and keep us from falling asleep all of the time.
Now, one of the things I mentioned was that sometimes when I need some time out from my family, I love them, but sometimes I need time out, is that I will go, I need to go to the supermarket and buy a capsicum because it's the only thing that's going to make dinner work. Even though, I could actually probably do it without it. But part of it's that 10 or 15 minutes where actually I get some time out. I don't need to talk to the shop assistant. I might nod and smile and say a polite hello, but I'm not going to engage them in conversation.
Yeah.
And it's just that little time for myself where I can wander around, get the capsicum, just be away from people and actually have a little time to recharge.
Yes.
Now, do you think that extroverts work in the same way, or how do you think that they approach shopping? Is actually about seeking stimulation, being in an environment that's exciting, more exciting than, say, being at home?
Well, certainly the external world is full of lots of interesting, stimulating things that are very attractive to someone who seeks their energy from the outside world and sources their energy from the outside world. And of course, extroverts need balance through introversion. So we are not one or the other. We are predominantly one or the other, according to Carl Jung, who came up with this theory. So yes, for people who are extroverted, a shopping environment has lots of really juicy opportunities to be stimulated, whether that's through interactions with other people, other shoppers, store assistants, security guards, random people, or whether it's just through the environment, which is very stimulating. Shopping environments have lots of opportunities to see things and smell things and interact with things. More and more stores are offering multi-sensory experiences, so you can go in and taste.
And a smell.
You can taste things, you can smell things, you can touch things. Stores are much more touch-friendly in that regard. And for somebody who is seeking external stimulation, or just needing it, whether or not they're aware that that's what's driving them, that environment is very rich, and it can be incredibly energizing, particularly to somebody who is extroverted. And so you can find yourself in that environment without quite understanding the building blocks that have brought you there. And for someone who's overshopped, and that has been my case, that's really liberating to know that, because if you need all of that external stimulation, you can source it in multiple ways, not only in a shopping environment. And that's incredibly empowering. Yes, you may choose shopping, but there are many other choices, perhaps sometimes healthier choices in the long run. But it's certainly one of the reasons that takes us to a shopping environment.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly found with my experiences that I hit a point when I'm traveling where I'm going, that's it, I can't take any more stimulation, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a little different from a lot of extroverts who may go, great, I'm going and I want to keep on going.
Yeah.
I want to be in this environment for longer. And, you know, and maybe too, I'll stumble over a friend or I'll make a new friend and I'll, you know, have an interaction that I wouldn't have got if I was at home.
I've had some incredibly intimate conversations with people that I've only just met and won't ever see again. And it all seems very normal in the moment. Certainly that need to be around either other people or things that are going to keep you stimulated externally can be very energizing. And that's one of the ways you can tell the difference between someone who's introverted and extroverted. We all like to be in stimulating environments. That's true for everybody. Your tolerance for it or your need for it can be very different depending on where your energy source comes from.
Yes. And I certainly know I have some introverted clients who just hate shopping altogether. Like they just find it completely overwhelming.
Yeah, and shopping can be that for extroverts as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there can be so much choice that you really don't know where to start.
Yeah. And that's where knowing your rules helps. I did a video on that. Just go and watch that one.
Yes.
But yes, it is one of those things. I think that's an interesting thing that to knowing, and also knowing your limits.
Yes.
And maybe as an extrovert, your limit is higher, but maybe is particularly if you have an over-shopping habit or an over-shopping tendency, you need to be a little more aware.
Yes.
If you are in that environment that, you know, when you're getting that more and more energy, actually sometimes you need to put a limit, maybe you need to put a time limit.
And of course, over shopping knows no boundaries when it comes to income level and gender and age and personality type. There are no studies to support that. That's just my hypothesis. And it could very well be that people with a preference for introversion don't find themselves in a bricks and mortar shopping environment so much. Perhaps they shop more online because it's a private setting and doesn't require that same degree of interaction with people or with things. And so that's also good to know. If you're an over shopper, obviously there are lots of things that you can do to balance that out and make that a healthy habit. But knowing the things that attract you. For me, I get so bored with online shopping. I just can't do it for very long. It's just so boring. There's just not enough
stimulation
there to keep me interested.
Yes. Yeah, so it is one of those things. It's just an interesting little, you know, kind of topic we were having a chat about.
Yes.
So, you know, I'd love to know your thoughts on, you know, whether you do or don't enjoy shopping and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. We might start doing a study on this.
Yes.
And if you prefer bricks and mortar shopping or online.
Oh, it's so fascinating, so multifaceted. There are so many different dimensions through it, and it really depends on which way you're looking at it to what you see, and it's certainly not definitive. It's something we're very interested in, and we may, in fact, do more on this.